I bet that fixed it, didn't it? Let's see. Yep, that's it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Had something unplugged. So I have this bar down here that should be, it moves left and right as I'm talking. And actually, it picks up the fan, which is kind of on low. And when I didn't see that moving, I knew something was wrong. Oh, it's one thing's unplugged. Okay, thank you for that. See, good morning to you, sir. All right, let's get some painting going. Oh well. Yep, there we go. All right, back to the Amorites. What's this notification say? Your audio system bitrate lower than the recommended. Recommend that you use an audio. That I use an audio what? Stream bitrate of 128. I'm just going to ignore that. Wants to be difficult this morning. That's what happens when when you work on these, use these free programs. Things don't always work. Oh well. I guess we're all made differently. There's people that can navigate all this technology stuff really well, but then they can't go. They can't go somewhere 2 hours away. They get lost without their map telling them where to go. So if it goes as well as it did yesterday, we should be able to get these 5 guys done. And then all the fast blade will be complete. And we can base them. So hopefully we can get to that point. I'm tired of looking at these guys. Not really happy with the way that brush is behaving. Let's try this one. Let's add a little bit more of this core color here. And then we can go ahead and add this on here. Yeah, I tried to get a second painting session in yesterday. Didn't go too well. It went about an hour. Because when I ended up leaving yesterday morning to do the yard work I needed to knock out on a day off. I don't know how to do yard work in this heat conditions after being at work in heat conditions. So I try to leave it for the weekend. So we did that. Took way too long. I came back to try to finish these guys up to the point where I had started the previous 5 and basically got there. So this is where we're picking up off. I guess some people really enjoy doing yard work. I'm not one of them. I like it when it's done. I don't want to pay somebody else to do it. You're off on holiday Monday to Friday. Excellent. You're going to be painting my Immortals and some Persian heavy cavalry. Cool. I would have already built that army if Mitch didn't have... I think he's got 3 Persian armies. They're pretty flexible army. If you're building the book 1, the early Achaemenid army, I wouldn't like the way those the deep bow behave in DBA at all. I feel like I need to hide those guys all the time so they don't cost me the game. I don't like those deep elements. I don't like how they behave on it. I don't like how the first one is half the kills. You know, I like how they look. Don't get me wrong. They're cool to paint, but still, they're better than how they used to be in 2.2, where they would behave the same as regular bows, but you had to paint more guys. That was just nonsense. But the Burgundian ones I think that's the only army I have that has this deep ones. Deep bow elements. Bow elements with integral supporting foot in them. I play keep away with them all the time. If I have to play them, I'm like, okay, move them over here so they don't get destroyed by other shooting. They should be more resistant to shooting than other shooting elements, but at least in DVA 3.0 they are not. We're really groggy this morning, so hopefully people come in and, I don't want to say entertain me is probably the correct word, but interact. I stayed up till 12:30 the previous night, woke up at 5, and today I stayed up till about 12. Last night I stayed up till about 12:30 for different reasons. Oh, and I woke up at 5, so maybe we need a nap today. A nap is in order. Speaking of holiday, last year we kept canceling everything. Everything we were going to go to convention. Convention didn't happen. Canceled that. I ended up canceling so many things. Had all these days at the end of the year. I didn't know what to do with, so tried to be a little bit more proactive this year, as I figured that this year would be the same rehash of last year for the most part. And it hadn't been that bad, but still, I don't want to get stuck with a bunch of days at the end of the year that I can't use and can't transfer them over. So I thought next year. Immortals are very seldom get used, too expensive and all, and not that effective. But I've been putting it off too long, need to finish the army off. Art de la Guerre, not all predictive text is a pain. Art de la Guerre, okay. Does anybody play the Art de la Guerre that's less points to make it DBA sized? Art de la Guerre lets skirmishers shoot at a distance, right? Watched a couple of videos on how to play Art de la Guerre a while ago. can't solve that. That's kind of a minor quibble I have with DBA. Is Dirk, there you are. You know, actually, I can't read your thing at all, but I can barely see the icon. Like if I go over to the text thing, I don't have my glasses on. I can see that there is a blue dot when John's been speaking, and I noticed a little icon there with your little red care. Welcome. You do the occasional 100-point Aguilar turning. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I can't play that. I can't play that unless it's just too similar. I'm going to get things wrong. Yeah, I think the skirmishers shoot at a distance. Do light horse shoot at a distance? Shooting base woods. Do light horse shoot at a distance? Tell me yes. Actually, tell me no, so that way I won't get involved in playing that. There's that. You're Welsh. Great Scots, though. 100 points Art de la Guerre, same size. One base width. Okay. Interesting. You guys come from a DBMM background or a DBM background or a DBA background that got into Art de la Guerre? What brought you to that? I'm curious. And just like that, there's 7 people online. Welcome. Excellent. I better get painting. That's what you're here for. Actually, I better get talking. It's probably what you're here for. Audio, entertainment. That's where I would be too. I don't want to go to somebody's channel. All they're doing is not talking. Let me turn on this radio station. Why do you like to listen to it? Oh, because it's just white noise. Oh, okay. I actually had a friend of mine who went to a show. I used to stay with him a few times. We'd share a hotel room, and he had a white noise machine to sleep with. And I'm like, when I go to bed, all lights are off, no noise. That's just how I'm used to. I don't leave TVs running if I'm not watching the TV. I just never do. I don't even have that much use for a television, to be honest with you. Loved DBM. Richard Budley Scott was in our Newport club. Okay. Played DBM, Hill Caesar, and DVA as well. Man, I'd just be afraid of getting all that stuff mixed up and then playing the rules wrong. It is so unsatisfying. Well, cheaters may enjoy this, but I think it's It's very unsatisfying playing things incorrectly. We keep track of our wins and losses, and as Luke and I like to say, is you don't want to. Well, I won, but there's an asterisk. Like you won, but we played the rules wrong. Very unsatisfying. That's the one thing that I prefer about computer games. You can't play them wrong. Well, unless they're programmed incorrectly or there's a bug. But it's really unsatisfying to play things incorrectly. Alright, do we need to do any more to this guy? Nah. We're going to leave him as is. Let's move on to 3 and 4. Figures 3 and 4. Oh man, I got Deluge. Excellent. Loud snore is worse than Taliban. Oh, don't come spend the night with me. Unfortunately. Used to play 7th, 6th, and 5th WRG as well. I never even heard about them. I never heard about those games, but I never played an Ancients or medieval game until 2004 when I saw people playing this silly game. So, any ancients or medieval rules set screw tried. It's the only thing I've played. I don't want to paint more figures of the same army. I'll be honest with you. I'd rather just paint other armies. So I'm not opposed to. I've got that. What's that rule set? Well, see, Art de la Guerre is the French rules, as I like to call them. The Italian rules is impetus. I've got them here. I don't have the motivation to paint them, and people love it or hate them, and I don't know. I'd like to kind of try them on my own and see what I think of them, but I'm sure there's things I won't like. They don't have pips, so never tried Art de la Guerre. DBMM community's too strong here. Yeah, you gotta play what your community likes. If you go somewhere and everybody's done playing a game, it is all set up to play a game. You kind of have to play what people want to play. Unless you want to destroy your community. There's people that do that. Got to sort my garage out. Love the Papal series of games, by the way. Oh, good. If you've seen them both, it's a wacky army. It's a really, really weird army. But that's why I built them. And a litter is, I'm very surprised how what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I was just talking about how deep bow they could cost you the game, and litters are very, very strong. I mean, they're weird. They can't go into combat and stuff like that compared to normal elements, but I had this perception of how they were going to play, and then I started playing them, and my perception is nothing like that at all. You put them that way, and it's like people want to avoid them. They don't want to go into combat with them because they're not going to get anywhere. They're like a horde plus, so to speak. The Potmobile was amazing. Yeah, I got lucked out. I surf a lot, and I just found the right thing for that. I surf a lot, and I happen to see that. There's some great stuff on the internet. You just got to find it. I was prepared to make it out of scratch. To make a little chair in that style out of scratch, out of wood and stuff. And it wouldn't have turned out as well, obviously. But that's what I was going to go, and I just happened to come across that set of the little medieval things. And it was like perfect. I didn't want a litter because I did not want the litter stand to be rectangular. I didn't want it to be 40 by 80 because those 40 by 80 stands just behave really strangely when other units come in contact with them. They'll be deep, but yet only one guy can contact them on that deep side, and it's awkward. It's awkward to have those rules that don't make any sense staring you in the face every time you're playing that unit. So I don't want my war wagons rectangular. I don't want the litters rectangular. I put off building all those units when I was playing DBA 2.2 on purpose because I didn't like the way war wagons looked rectangularly. Well, it's not how they looked, and it's not the space that they take up. It's the fact that they can only have one unit contact them on a side. It would be a glaring annoyance every time they would go into battle, Didn't like DBMM. Too many rule lawyers, not very friendly, and a lot of amendments to rule sets, which is not a good sign. Shows it hasn't been set up properly in the first place. I don't know that. Well, there's not an art de la guerre community in Florida at all that I know of. I know there's people in the U.S. that play it. There's more people that show up to play art de la guerre than DBA at Historicon, for instance. But I don't know that I'm willing to learn another set of ancients and medieval rule sets. Learn meaning I'm going to go on my own and I'm going to figure out how to play it, and I'm going to teach my people how to play it. I don't think I have it in me. It's just too. I already have a job I dislike. I don't need to do that in the hobby. It's just really frustrating to continually get things wrong, you know. So I think that when this game doesn't cut it out for me, I think I'm going to probably do a series of house rules, and that's what'll scratch the itch. And it'll be, DBA 3.0 armies, so I don't have to redo any of mine. And it'll just have more in-depth stuff with, skirmishers that shoot. Well, we'll call them skirmishers for sure. I just had somebody that gave me a comment last night that said something along the lines of, why do you call those units Saloy? You're the only person I've ever seen that's called them that. I'm like, hey, I'm all for not calling them Saloy, but that's what the author called them, I didn't write the rules. Otherwise, they'd be organized differently. As I like to say, they would be a lot easier to understand. They may not be as good because Barker's got some good ideas. But they would be easier for people to play them correctly, I'd like to think. But I like rules with one subject matter, not a bunch of jumbled things, multiple thoughts, kind of stuff on there. So, but anyhow, so I'm more likely to do that at some point in the future. And some point in the future, maybe 5 years, 20 years. It may never happen. I don't know. But I'm always going to play with the stuff that I have. If I didn't have that attitude, I better not produce them because I may not be playing this game in 4 years. What's the incentive for me to produce more armies? I've seen too many people that have just walked away from their collection and have to start something else from scratch. I just don't want to start from scratch again. I've got 35 armies, and I've probably spent a couple of 100 hours painting each one, maybe longer. Well, it's 100 hours or so. So whether it's 200 hours, 300 hours, whatever it is. So you multiply that. How much time have I spent painting these things? I don't want to not get that back. I don't want to I don't paint these guys anymore. Like, whoa, wait a second. So that was the whole point in even doing videos in the first place, is I was just seeing that this rule set was dying for multiple reasons. I think it's very inaccessible to people picking it up and taking one look at the rule book and then starting to read and go, holy shit, I don't know what's going on here. I better put this down. So, now people that just buy painted figures, yeah, you just throw money at the problem. You go and say use DBA for an example. You go and you buy a DBA army for $100, $120, right? Maybe it's not a very good looking army. Maybe it's not painted well because that's really cheap, but that's what they used to go for. $140, less than $200, okay, for a fully painted army. You play with it for a while. You start playing DBA, and you say, you know what, this game isn't for me. So you go and you sell it, and maybe you'll lose $20. That's okay. Or then you take that money and you trade it for something else. But I can't do that. I can't sell my things. I'm not going to. I'm not going to start over and piss away all this time that I've done it painting these guys. So I'm not opposed to playing other rule sets from the standpoint of a lot of people don't want to play other rule sets, or at least they verbalize why they don't want to play other rule sets because of, oh, I got to rebase my army, or I want to learn the rules. I don't mind learning the rules. I just don't like there's no buzzer in there when you're playing the rules that goes when you're doing something wrong. You could be playing something wrong inadvertently, and the next thing you know, 12 games later, you've played them all wrong, and you've got to reteach everybody. I just don't have it in me anymore. I just don't have it in me. If it comes with a GM that pops out and says, no, you can't do that, or you can ask the person something immediately, but sifting through things, I'm sure that I'm sure that Art de la Guerre is set up a lot more user-friendly than Barker's books, but you probably have Art de la Guerre armies as you have example Persians made up of Indian, Scythian, Persians, Greeks. Well, I looked at a couple of Art de la Guerre videos, and there's two things I don't like about Art de la Guerre without playing it. That's just from my opinion. And I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I'm just saying, this is just my opinion. I haven't played it. I'm sure there's lots of things I like better. Okay? It has more detail than DBA. Okay, I'm a fan of that. I like that skirmishers shoot. I didn't know that light horse shoot. That's even better. At a distance, the distance can be short. The distance can be, hell, it can be half a base width. But the next rule sets I want to play, I'm just going to be frank. The next rule set I'm going to play that involves combat, you're going to be able to fight like this or like this, but certainly like this. Not the whole, well, I got to line up with them. It's one, it's one geometry too far. I've struggled with that for 18 years and just can't take it anymore. I deal with it in this game, but it's just something that just doesn't make any sense to me anymore, and we've all dealt with it. I've dealt with having to do this conforming, and it's just awkward. It's what you spend most of your time in the whole game dealing with, the whole funky geometry. And, well, how can I come into contact with a unit? Well, you come into contact with a unit by moving them together, and that's how they fight, okay? And then spend that extra time that you no longer have to do with that, figuring out different combat factors. The combat factors could definitely be more. There could be more. It could have more beefed up, so to speak. Not crazy, but it could have more detail. And the other thing that doesn't set well with me is it just seems like I don't know how Art de la Guerre the people that Art de la Guerre made didn't get sued by the Barkers, because there's so much that is just, it looks like it's just been lifted from their work. And you can disagree with me or whatever, but I took a look at the rule book, and there's a thing in DBMM called Brilliant Generals, right? And Art de la Guerre has it as well. It's the same guys in the same lists that they are, and it's like, if anything would be different, would be like, there may be some differences, but I'm like, the same people are in the same lists, and it's just like, and there's controversial decisions that the Barkers have made on, why is this general brilliant or whatever, but it just seems like it's just been lifted from it, and I don't know. Maybe not. Certainly it's been expanded and stuff like that, but I didn't like that. And I'm not a Barker. I don't know them. Yes, I met him a couple times, and but it just doesn't. That's just not something I would do. If you're going to charge for the rules, if you're going to take, okay, I've said that, let's say 20 years go by and the Barkers are no longer with us, and they never made a DBA 4.0 or whatever. So I'm like, you know what? I want to take this game to the next level. So I would put some amendments together, maybe write my own little house rules of expanding DBA 3.0 to the next level. But if they're free, as I'm not going to charge for them. Of course, I got to be careful how I would put that, because I don't want to just take, hey, these are free, and somebody who's nefarious would say, oh, let me just take Tony's rules, change the name of them, and then I'll sell them. No. I don't want people to make money on somebody else's work. That's just against my core values. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. But then you still have to buy 3.0 for the Army list. So, you can't say, oh, well, you're taking money away from them. No, I'm not taking money away from them. And they still have to buy their product. That's how I would spin it. But I'm not opposed to playing Art de la Guerre. I'm just not going to go out and learn how to play it on my own. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm sure it has more detail. The skirmisher shootings, that's already an improvement. I just don't want to play another set of rules there's so many times I've been playing DBA 3.0 or any version of DBA, and I've taught a lot of people how to play. And I've had to use the phrase, well, it doesn't make any sense to me either, but that's just how the rules are. If I have to say that, that's something that has to be changed, in my opinion. I've played a lot of games. We've played a lot of games with our group. Certainly we have the skills to be able to fix that. There's nothing that we can't fix by just play testing it. I just got to believe, So anyways, that's my 2 cents worth on that. But, and the way I say it is, it's going to be easier for me to use our experience that we have to create exactly what we want, what we like, is going to be less effort than learning another rule set, and play it correctly and not mess it up constantly. I don't know. That just seems like the case. Now, I know lots of people not necessarily in our game group, but in our game convention in Florida, that they're always nomadic. They'll go and they'll play DBA, play DBA, play DBA, and then they'll sell all those figures and they'll move to another rule system and play that for 4 or 5 years. And then they're like, well, I don't do that anymore. Now I move to another thing. And I'm not talking about switching between American Civil War and World War II and Ancients. And I'm talking about Ancients, and they get rid of this, and then they go to a different Ancients thing, and oh, now it's Kings of War. Oh, let's get rid of Kings of War. We're going to go and move it. And I'm like, those people are always trying to find, the golden nugget, and they're never going to. That's just how they are, They're not bad people. They're just, I find that very unsettling. If I know that in 2 years I may not use these figures, I'm going to be like, screw it, I'm going to play a video game. But that's just me, I think there's a lot of people that are that way. Most people are that way. I didn't intentionally sit down to play this game only for, going on almost 20 years. It just kind of happened. And I know what we would enjoy more in this game, and it's to not all this stupid geometry, all this, how come this guy can go like this, okay, but when you bring another guy in to try to close the door, he can't do this, he's got to line up like this, not like, it just weirdisms that are just there because of them being there. And I just got to believe that we could solve them. We could solve them after, play testing for a while, but I think I'm going to wait until I'm fed up with this to do that. But, I don't want to split the community or make a coin. It's not about that. It's just about, you know, I think the way to do it would be Mongols. Okay, Mongols is the thing that is a slippery slope. Lots of people want me to paint Mongols, and I'm afraid of painting Mongols because they're going to leave such a bad taste in my mouth when I play them in DBA. They're going to be a catalyst for me to say, okay, I've spent 300 hours painting this army. Well, there's not that many figures in that army, so let's just say 200 hours painting that army. And it's most of them are two guys on a stand, not three. So, and I'm going to be like, okay, well, I don't, these guys don't play even remotely close. You don't walk away from playing the Mongols feeling like you played a Mongol army and made Mongol army decisions when you're playing DBA. They just don't, they don't feel right. And say, okay, well, we're going to create a historical scenario with the Mongol, like maybe Lignits. Okay, so Mongols versus the Teutonic Knights. And then in there, try some house rules. And we're going to love them. And then we're not going to want to play the standard DBA games anymore. And I can just see it be a slippery slope. So I've put off building things like that. You know, Hail Caesar is the game that you use the most figures. I'm out. 3 commands with 4 units minimum, in between 20 to 48 figures per unit. Yeah, and it's mostly played in 28 millimeter. I don't have that kind of time. I'm not going to be around that long. That's 30 figures. 30 figures times 12 hours a figure times 4 command. I just don't have thousands of hours to build one army for one game. You know, it's not like, well, okay, I know, Tony, you spend 4 hours on a 15 millimeter figure, but when you go to 28s, you can do dip and you can do this, and now it's only an hour a figure or less. I'm like, bigger figures mean more detail, mean more time. That's me. You're not going to be, I'm too much of a figure painter, you know. It doesn't mean I won't play it at a convention or something like that, or with somebody that I can just ask, hey, how far can I move? You know, not looking through the rule book. But on my own, it's just too much. It's too much for me. It's just not worth it, you know? Let me give you an example. Field of Glory Ancients, right? So I was new to it. I bought a computer last year. I got it. I played a fair amount of it. I feel like I know how to play the game really well without reading the rule book. I just started clicking and moving around and played in the 6-7 tournaments, something like that. And won about half the time, pretty consistently half the time. Not against the computer. I'm talking about human opponents. Yeah, it's fine. You know, that's the advantage of computer games. They don't allow you to do anything wrong. You can't move your light horse too far. Well, unless there's a bug in the program. But it's very similar to Warhammer rules, which is what puts me off. And I've never played Warhammer. So that's not an appeal to me. I know that it's like, hey, you play Warhammer? Well, try this Ancients thing. I'd be more likely to play 40K rules that are implemented as a DB with DB mechanics than the other way around. But you know, when you get right down to it, miniatures rules are an excuse to play with your creations. I'm interested in because of the creative aspect of making these little guys. The game's okay. There's other games that if it was for gaming purpose, I would game that I don't build the figures for. So this is just kind of, this is a way of like, say, do modeling, but then not leaving them on a shelf, actually doing something with them. So that's why I'm not particularly interested in sitting down and what are you doing this week off? Oh, I'm going to work on my rules for a new game. I'm just not interested in it. I would rather do this and talk to people and, I don't know if that makes any sense, but the this is therapy, and the therapy happens here, not on the field of battle in a miniatures game. It doesn't mean that that's stressful, but I'm just saying that, for every hour I play in the game, I end up painting for 10 hours or 12. So it needs to work for this, not necessarily for the actual game on the board. So the game on the board isn't the end all. But they work in cooperation with each other. You don't want to build things for a game you don't like. Yeah, there's lots of those. SPQR, right? SPQR, Hill, Caesar. What's that one with the... I know some of them are skirmish type games. Clash of Spears. I know I had a friend of mine who all he did was buy rule sets and learn and just never learn how to play a game. It's like, it just gets too confusing. Maybe for people that have jobs though, where they don't have to think a whole lot. It's the same droning thing day after day. But man, I don't want to be tortured with all that kind of stuff. All right, we need to get some water. Great. Hail Caesar was done. Companies could sell lots of figures. Yeah. Screw those guys. Well, they can just pay people to paint them. I like the look of lots of figures. Don't get me wrong. I don't have the time for it. I don't have the time. Yeah, I grew up. I'm old enough that you either made figures or you made rules, but you didn't do both. I could see where the figure company would want to make their own rules. I get it. It makes sense, but I have a finite amount of time on this earth. I'd like to get something accomplished. Be right back. Yeah, I don't mind the look of more figures. I just don't. I don't have the time for it. It's a commercial game that the companies love so they can make more money. Well, I got news for you. My unprofessional opinion is nobody that does miniatures war games is making a killing. It isn't there. Now, I don't know how the pandemic has been from the standpoint of people that manufacture miniatures or whatever. Maybe they have an easier time now because lots of people are stuck at home and they're painting more miniatures or buying stuff. Hopefully it's been good to somebody for something. It's not like, miniature games are some evil industry that you don't want them to flourish because of the pandemic. You know, you know, but hopefully it's been better for them. But it's weird. I've heard that miniature gamers are really stingy with their money. Well, it depends who it is. You know, I've seen people that have just they buy and they keep buying and they're buying more, and it's just like, man, at some point, you know, I'm not anti-buying things, but you should use what you buy. I mean, yes, I bought things I didn't need. We've all done it. Some people still do it. It's extremely unsatisfying to me just to throw money at a problem and get nothing from it. You know, that's like ordering a meal at the restaurant, not eating it. You know, well, you need to finish what's on your plate before you order more food. It just doesn't feel right, you know. But we've all done it. And for me, it feels extremely unsatisfying. But, you know, you get to choose what you get to spend your money on. I mean, you can't have everything. Some people like buy lots of games and don't play them, or they'll go to a show, but they won't stay at a hotel unless it's like a rat hole. You know, I mean, the Lancaster host should be torn down and create a crater. A crater there should be just take the whole thing out and just send it to Afghanistan. That place. The last time I went to that place, it's ridiculous that a place exists. I went there historic on 2018? 2018. Wait, was there a 2020? I don't know. The time before last. And the whole place was under construction. It was like freaking Stalingrad. You haven't bought any figures about 8 months trying to finish off the figures I got. Good. And I'm not opposed to, I'm not opposed to buying a pack here, a pack there to supplement the things to finish what I have. It's not like I got to paint every figure. I'm not going to get to all my figures, and that's okay. But at least, I've entertained ordering some Donington Eastern European figures to supplement the look of Dracula's army when it comes up. I've considered that, so I just throw, say, $30 or $40 at it, to get a few more varieties so it'll look cool. Because however I paint that army, I'm not going to paint 4 more of those armies. I'm not going to paint another Dracula army. It's my one shot at them. So I don't mind giving them a little bit extra, flavor and stuff like that. You got about 400 to paint. You only have 400 figures to paint? That's low. That's really low. Well, it's 400. You're probably doing 28s. That's a lot. But I'm not opposed to spending money on things. I know how I am, and you got to kind of keep yourself on a short leash so you don't go crazy. Now, I'll tell you one thing, at least in my experience, that has simmered me down, and that's the internet. The fact that miniature companies show what their figures look like is good for the consumer because you get to see what you're actually buying. At the same time, how many times have you ordered something because you're like, I wonder how they look? I'll go order a pack of them. Well, we don't have to do that anymore. Now you know what they look like. So the thrill of, man, I can't wait to see what they look like when I open the package is gone. So, at least for me, one big incentive in ordering figures is no longer there because I know what they look like. So, it's good for the consumer. I guess it's good for the business as well. They can show people what their stuff looks like. You've worked through them since the pandemic, and they're all 15s. Oh, 400 15s? Well, that's nothing. Wow. That's not that many. You could do that. Easy. I think we're on to the next guy. I don't know. I'm not paying a whole lot of attention, but that's a good thing. Nah, we need to add more. I'm just trying to stay awake here. Got to get these guys done for the show that will not be. Well, there is a show. We're just not going to go to it. We're just going to run our games here in town. Whoever wants to join us here can join us. So, but it's not a surprise. We knew the writing was on the wall there. They didn't have any shows last year, and then the spring show was canceled. And this one, it's in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. It's still going to go on, but it's very, it's restrictive feeling. So I'm like, I don't need that nonsense stuff on there. So we'll just run it here. We'll just run our stuff here at the same weekend. We wouldn't have done it the same weekend, but it's kind of, 3 weeks out. It's like we got to make a decision. And I think it's too late to just cancel it. So we'll just play here. And yeah, some people won't be able to get our games because we're not actually going to the show. But we're going to get some games with people here in town that wouldn't have gone to the show anyways because they rarely travel for the convention. So you win some and you lose some, You really enjoyed Blind Faith. Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, I really should be in advertising. I didn't know. I'm like, on Friday afternoon, I send Mitch a text and I said, "You got any plans tonight?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, I knew I was probably going to be free. Like, you want to throw another set of games?" Like, "Yep." I said, "Okay." So I'm like, "All right, well, I could do more Russians because I still got more enemies of the Russians to do." And I'm like, "Well, we still have some Pope ones. Let's do that." And I'm like, "Want to play the other enemy?" And say, "Yeah, what if we played through the Pope using the blind general thing?" "Yeah, blind faith." I was like, "Blind faith, yeah, perfect." Yeah, I think the game is better with blind. I just don't want to play every game blind because I know there's some people that are playing this game that don't want to play with the blind general rules. So we want to show them regular games too, and we're going to go to shows, and we're not going to play every game blind. But if I ever come up with my set of rules, it'll always be blind. I think it is so neat. It's so neat having to verbalize like, man, I don't know if I can roll the one. People suffering along with you. I enjoy it. I really do. It's suffering, but it's not. Yeah, I really like the blind general thing. Really like it. Just such a funky army. Well, that was the whole point. The whole point was to build another army that plays nothing like the other armies that I have. It's probably the most like my Sung Chinese, but they just don't have very many shooters. It's funny. Mitch is so concerned about that army. He's like, Man, I wouldn't like it. It's got 3 Saloy, and I'm like, I could deal with 3 Saloy. My first DBA army was my feudal Spanish, and they had 4 Saloy. And I had to learn how to play the game with that. So 3 Saloy, no problem. Saloy, that's skirmishers for you guys that don't use the term Saloy. I like skirmishers better, but that's what Barker decided to call them, so. There's other rule sets we played that they also use terms that I didn't really buy into. When we were doing 2.2 plus, the creators of 2.2 plus I could not dissuade them from saying they wanted to call Fast Blade Raiders. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling that that's the correct term for it. No, it's got to be what it is because they raid. And okay, it's their rules. You call them whatever the hell you want, but they're not catchy, you know. All right, so the plan here is finish the flesh on this guy. Then we'll start painting these battle sarongs on them. Same thing we did yesterday. Yeah, playing a fair amount of Field of Glory on the computer. There's a lot of things that I like about that rule set better than DBA, but the pips are crucial. I love the pip mechanism. I love the pip mechanism. So, you get good ideas from just about anything. We need more paint in this. Gotta do coverage. Better coverage than that. Know what we're gonna do today. Got the yard work done yesterday. I was gonna wash the car, but I'm like, I'll just wait till next weekend. Got to get windows tinted next weekend. I'll just wait till next weekend and do it. People with a window tinting were saying that they've got so much work. They've been so busy. Like everybody's getting their windows tinted. I'm like, where's all this money coming from? And supposedly everybody cries that they're out of work and they can't find any employment and all this stuff. But people sitting at home on their fanny, but yet they got money to tint windows. I don't know. This is a strange world we live in. Strange, strange. Dun, dun. Fast blade swordsman. Not always. Not always, but yeah, in the case what I would do is I would just call them what they are. You know, I would call them I'd call them raiders if they were Vikings, because that's what they would probably be. I would call them in my early Renaissance Spanish army, they would be rodeleros, because that's what they are, sword and bucklermen, and not worry about having a classification. You know, you can call them Soloi when they're a Greek army, nothing wrong with that. Calling them Soloi when they're a Chinese army is just absurd. You know, Auxilia is a fine name if you're using Romans. Chinese Auxilia, what kind of crap is that? You know. I think I finally scratched that bug that got stirred up a couple of weeks ago about looking at fantasy. That's one of the things I was like, okay, well, if I started doing fantasy, I could make up some of these ideas and try them in the fantasy game, but you know, I don't want to. I've already got enough on my plate. I already got enough on my plate. Now, if I could work from home, then yeah, maybe Blind General with DBMMs and Petros Warbands would be cool. I'm going to end up getting the DBMM books at some point, and there's just a lot of juicy stuff in there that could be useful. Yeah, I definitely would. I came up with my own rules. You're gonna have units that are gonna advance into combat when you don't want them to. You guys have seen what we play, right? When I started playing DBA, there was one event per convention, and it was almost always an open. So everybody showed up with their biggest, baddest army, and it didn't matter whether it was Chinese versus Romans versus Greeks. It was all a mishmash. You've seen what we play. We almost always play match pairs now. Almost always. Yes, we have themed things where you have to have at least a certain number of Soloi, just so you can see weird things. But generally, we play historical type matchups against people's enemies and stuff. And I don't know where I was going with this. So it would be, if you do something like, Romans versus Germans, I'm not really interested. I can see in the future, the next level is going to be we play matchups in a game that aren't necessarily balanced at all. We know from the get-go. Like, let's say we're going to do Romans versus Germans, and maybe the Romans don't have to be balanced point-wise against the Germans. It doesn't matter. But you're going to play the Romans in one game, and then you guys are going to switch. So you guys are going to, so you still keep it even from the standpoint that both people have to play the opposing sides, and not worry about, oh, well, Gothic knights have to be exactly the same as Byzantine heavy cavalry or whatever. In other words, I don't care. Some are impetuous, some aren't. And it doesn't matter if the game's balanced or not, because we're not focusing on open tournament type of play. Because we rarely do it anymore. After you've played that for a while, it's like, okay, everybody, there's some armies that never get play. So nobody shows up with certain armies, ever. So that's kind of a bummer, okay? Because you never, you play an open tournament, nobody's ever going to show up with the Caledonians. Nobody's going to just say, hey, I'm here with my Caledonians, let's do battle. Or, Norse Irish. Nobody's going to come up with Norse Irish at an open tournament. It just isn't going to happen. Does that mean they don't deserve to be played? No. They deserve to be played. Just play them in a different way where you're not worried about win at all costs. And we're competitive. You've seen our games. We're extremely competitive. But we're not win at all costs people when it comes down to it, So how do you get around that? Here's the matchup, and you guys are going to switch sides playing the thing, and then you can look at your scores. Just a different way to look at it. Yeah, we're definitely competitive. But, and I'll be honest with you, I've been spoiled. I wouldn't want to play in a game group where people that don't admit when they've rolled well and they want somebody, oh, I kicked your ass. Well, didn't you notice that you got like all the pip rolls? No, I'm just a better general than you. I'm not playing with people like that, okay? And I don't think we don't have that disorder amongst our people, fortunately. Our local people. So I could definitely see that going forward. So it's like, you know what? I want to play Impetuous Warband. Why? Because they're better? No. I want to play them because I'm going to have different wrinkles I have to deal with to try to get to win battle. And you just have to play with their national characteristics, whether they're good or bad. You just have to deal with them, You don't pick, how's that saying go? You don't go to battle with the army you want, you go with the army you have. Something like that. You don't go to battle with the army that you want, you go with the one that, the one you have. Ancient German king, he wants knights, but he doesn't. He's got warband, so you got to win with warband. So we rarely play opens. So yeah, Impetuous Warband, that sounds like fun. That sounds like a lot of screaming. We'd enjoy that. Don't move them within a certain distance because then they kind of go on autopilot. Now you got me wanting painting German warbands. Yeah, Mitch has got plenty of them. I wouldn't mind painting them. Yeah, Blind General's awesome. Yeah. We like all that stuff. And we like things not to go our way all the time. Some people don't. Some people want to be control freaks. I don't want to be a control freak in a game. It's just a game, Just a few more shades on this guy, and then we can go do the cloth. The business, the cloth business. Man, I'm groggy today. You'd think I'd had a late night partying or something like that, but nope. Nope, no partying for me. The double move with Warband from 2.2. I remember those days. I would have left it in there. I would have left them in there. I think Warband are really, really, really weak. Doesn't mean I don't mind playing them. I just don't have any confidence in, them. I mean, how many times have you played the Carthaginians that the Gallic warband actually carries the battle for you? Never. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. They're fighting the damn Romans, and the Romans are just invincible compared to warband just most of the time, unless they get just the warband get lucky. Seems that way. Seems that way. Seven, huh? Should I make coffee? Yeah. I'm good. I'll get more drink. I'll be right back. point where I don't really enjoy coffee that much. I mean, I like the caffeine charge, but for taste, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. No, this is similar to these guys in color. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cloth time. Is this one still alive? Because if it is, then we're just gonna just jump in and start using it. Because certainly somebody can be that color. This color of. There we go. Now let's see what I'm dealing with. All right, I want to make all this a wrong color, including this belt. Yeah, including the belt. Thing that looks like a belt. Yeah. And we'll have the straps of this thing different, and we're going to put, looks like a little chest piece. It's almost like probably bronze. So that's what we're going to do with that. We're going to make that bronze. Just a little disc so you don't get poked in the sternum. You get murdered everywhere else. Just don't get poked in the sternum. of course. White's always the first to die. Always. Yeah, I'll have like black that'll last for several days. And the white's good for overnight. That's it. It's dried out. It's too chalky. I'm not really sure why. Mysteries of the painting table. I don't have good hearing, and I hear that. I don't know what speed that is, but that's not gonna. We don't want to listen to that. Let's go up to 3. 3 might be a trouble speed. How about 4? Make sure I don't have any. Aha. All kinds of icons. People leave icons on their phone. Okay. I don't need that. 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 Okay. Good. Whew. Can't have all those things just looming on there. All right. That's good enough for government work. All right, let's get another shade of this stuff. What do you got here? Medium gray. Wow. It's got a lot of brown in it. Brownish gray. We get our, where's our racist brown here? SS Camo Black. Never painted any SS troops. And I would do it for the challenge of doing their smocks, but I don't do that anymore. I don't do World War II stuff. But yeah. Don't think I've ever painted any SS stuff. Didn't avoid it. It's not like I didn't paint them because they were SS. I paint all kinds of nasty people. I know certain people won't play a certain nationality or a faction, or isn't that the new terminology for all that stuff? Faction. I'm building the SS faction. Sounds ridiculous. But, yeah, there's nobody that I won't build because of them being unsavory in real life. Just a game. But there's people out there that I won't play so-and-so because of whatever. Okay, that's your decision. That's fine. I don't know that there's anybody I wouldn't play in a game. But if other people want to do that, it's their right to. All right, let's add more of this chorus stuff here. I can definitely see a freaking Starbucks coffee in my future today. It's either that, what do we got? We got a leaning tower of, what happened here? Come on, straighten that out. Slacker. I could definitely see a Starbucks in my cold black coffee in my future today. It's either that or I'm going to go back to bed. Not going to get these guys done going to sleep. That's not the recipe for that. It's not going to get you where you need to go. Not the recipe you need. I'm telling you what, I got so many issues with so many of these brushes where you got one bristle that's going in a different direction. Tell you what we're going to do. Oh shit. Yep. I'm not going to use any anesthesia either. We're going to operate on this thing. You die, you bastard. See if we can do something about that. I'm actually going to cut on this blue thing so I could see. I should do that more often. Now we got a point on this thing, you know? Good morning, Patriot. I subscribed to your channel yesterday, and what was I doing? I think I was picking some stuff up today. You know, you had a chat that was about painter's block. Yeah, pretty much agree with everything you said on there. Good morning. Update on the most expensive bed we have ever owned. It's the most expensive bed I have ever owned as well. I wouldn't tell other people how much it cost because they wouldn't believe me. New Tempur-Pedic mattress was awesome. Well worth the cost for the 10 years. I agree with you. Now, you know the worst thing about that bed? It's not the price tag. It's if you ever stay in a hotel room, your bed is horrible. It can't support your weight. Absolutely horrible hotel beds. So, yeah, you get used to it. But you see what I'm talking about. You climb in and it feels like a hospital bed. You're like, man, this is just like stiff. It feels like it's too hard, but it isn't. Just it lets it relax, and I don't know. It's magic. We wasn't last November. Let me think. Was the mass shit going on? That's how you have to check for things now. I don't know. We've had it a couple years now. I don't think so. And we're going to go with a sleep number. But we found this people that did the sleep number bed, they picked a number and they just left it there. So you're like, oh, I'm a 65 or I'm a 35 or whatever. And you just never changed it. So, and it's a little bit less expensive, but no, the Tempur-Pedic is pretty cool. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't use the reclining head very much. You know, I go in and I recline it maybe 5 degrees, just enough that, you know, a little bit of on the head. I don't put my feet up or anything. Now, if I'm in bed and working on something on my tablet, which is very rare, because I get in bed and I fall asleep. That's kind of how it works. Then, yeah, I'll get into that seating position. What do they call it? The TV mode. But I rarely have my feet higher than my chest ever. Yeah, you won't regret it. It's a ton of money. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but you know, here's the reality. You're going to use it every night. So divide how much it costs by every night. I don't know. I don't have a calculator, and it's too early for math. But yeah, it's the right move, especially if you have any issues. I didn't have any issues. It was just time to get another bed. We were sleeping bad. I'm a side sleeper, so if I don't have enough support, I end up like crushing my neck gets crushed against my own body. I don't know. And I'm not that big a person, so yeah, you'll go to hotels and you'll hate them. You know, probably weren't a big fan of hotel beds to begin with, but yeah. Yeah, pretty much agree with everything you said on there, on your video. My sentiments exactly. There's no reason to poo-poo what other people do. This could be, let me use an extreme example. This could be somebody's therapy. You know, your hobby could be someone's therapy, and it keeps them from going on a killing spree. You know, keep that person sane. You know, and yeah, that's what that's what I want this for. I want this for be therapy. I don't need a psychiatrist then. Lay down on my couch and talk to me while I paint. But there's a lot of people that just throw shit around on the internet. I don't know whether they're trouble, they're just doing it on purpose. You know, they've never been spanked as a child. I think it's some of that. You need to get your ass beat, do things like that. Maybe because they get too bold, because they're like, let me start trouble, and you know, nobody can beat me up. The bully can't find me because I'm on the internet. You know, but there's some people, there's some communities that are just toxic. Yeah, I don't know why. You know, I'm a member of a couple of Facebook groups, and and they're really not everyone there, but there's toxic people. Let me give you an example. There's a Facebook group, and it's not the. I know you don't do Facebook. I don't have a problem with Facebook. I mean, I know that I don't necessarily like their attitude on certain things, the way they handle themselves, but you know, I don't like the way many companies behave. Companies should just sell a product. That's it. What do you do? I make coffee. All right. Well, what do you think about politics? I don't care. I sell coffee. That's how it should be. Not like, oh, well, now that I have your attention, I'm going to tell you that, you know, this, that, and the other. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. You know, I'm a big boy. So I'm perfectly happy if, you know, companies just kind of kept that stuff to themselves, you know. But on the, there's one news group I was a member of, and actually, I'll tell you two things. The first thing well, let's see what you had to say first, and then I'll go on my rant here. Dirk. Yeah, Dirk's a good guy. The only person I've ever heard of from New Zealand. Nothing wrong with that. Just kind of I'm really surprised the population of New Zealand and Australia just really, really a lot lower than I would have thought. You guys have too many hobbies out there. I joined a member of a painting Facebook group 5 years ago. And the reason I joined it is I like the name of their title. I'm not going to go into what it is, but it was very thought-provoking. I never really posted on there. I was just kind of a lurker. And when I did I made a comment about, it was a comment about Games Workshop paint. And I think at the time, these guys hadn't come out yet. This new style. It was the previous one, which was terrible. It was a terrible design. It was a hard plastic container. The top was also hard. So you have hard on hard. They don't seal well, and we waste enough paint as it is on our paint palette, whatever it is. They don't need to dry also in the container, right? So the original style. This one may have died. What color is this? Nauseating blue. No, this thing's still alive. I don't think I've used this in the last 20 years. Nauseating blue. This design was good. And I put a comment on there like, well, and I wasn't being, if you've noticed me post things online, I don't pick fights and stuff online. Yeah, I could be sarcastic and shit like that, but I said, well, they must have gone to a new bottle design because they weren't selling enough paint. Because every time I've bought the new thing, I literally had like gold or tin bits or something like that. I used it one time and it dried out on me, and then I got freaking attacked for that. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't the place for me. If I can't say one thing, if you guys are all Games Workshop fanboys, if you make a shitty product, you should be able to get called out on it. I'm sorry. It's not like, oh, well, I don't like you guys. Like, okay, like you guys used to make stuff that's good, and I don't have one of those. I don't have any of those paints left because they all dried out. These are great, okay? They fix the problem or whatever. But you should be called out on it. You make a shitty product, it's like saying, oh, well, I don't talk bad about Ford. I work there. I don't give a shit. If you make a crap car, you make a crap car. I just used Ford for example. Don't know if you're Ford fanboys. I wouldn't know. I want a samurai that does the quality control on my vehicle. There's names of all the Japanese people that worked on my car, and when something breaks, they get executed. Harikiri. But there's this other group I joined recently. It's a really interesting group. I actually thought it was going to be more interesting, and it has just gone south in the last month. It's a group called You Park Like a Fuckhead. And what it is people go in there and they take pictures of people that have just parked, taking up 3 spots, not giving a shit, right next to somebody too close. Just stuff that we would never do, right? Because you don't want your vehicle damaged. And it's extremely disrespectful. You would never do that to somebody. You take pictures on there and people write notes, and you're now famous. Go check out your car on this website, on your You Park Like a Fuckhead Facebook group, right? So what it's turned into is people post pictures of things that are obviously wrong. That you would never do this in a million years. You would never disrespect somebody's private space and encroach. I mean, you're talking about, well, I have Hot Wheels vehicles, so let's go to town. You have a parking spot like this. Oh, that's right. We're going to see some gangster cars here. Yeah, baby. Okay, here's your parking spot. This is how you're supposed to park. And they're parked like, oh, you can't see that. Literally touching the other vehicle, or, one spot taking up 2, all kinds of crazy stuff. And so that's how it started. And they're like, okay, it should be an interesting group, right? And there's trolls on there that go and defend the person that parks horribly. And it's just like, who does that? I mean, is your hobby, are you that in need of, nobody tops Model Master acrylics. I busted a bottle open with pliers trying to open it. Was used for plastic armor kits. Tamiya paints the same. Nobody tops Model Master. Busted. So you mean nobody tops how difficult they are to seal? Because I had Model Master acrylics. That's what I used to use as my black base, and I liked it. And then it just, put it in your molars, whatever, trying to get it open. And then, when you did get it open, it was elastic. You'd open it, and it would be like a string of it. It was a good product, but it sucked for putting it in the bottle. And it's this old style This design doesn't work anymore. You move on from the. It's like look, here you go, look, wee. What kind of nonsense is this? Yeah, Exhibit A. So I started using the Model Master enamel, and then it started getting goopy. I had to thin it, and then they stopped carrying the flat blacks. I had to get the gloss, and I'm like, here, you'll appreciate this. You'll appreciate this. Let me see if I can get this without moving the camera. This is how much of a royal bitch it was to open this thing. Look at this. This is pliers from hell trying to get this thing. And you can see how much I've used. I haven't used very much of it at all. It's acrylic gloss. So I use this so little to like maybe put on some swords and stuff like that. You can't open it. You can't open it. It's still plenty alive. Look. There's still life left in it. It just, well, that's why these guys got bought out by Rust-Oleum. It's a shame, but Rockford, Illinois. Mitch is from Illinois, near Rockford. He said it's a shithole. Well, maybe that's part of the problem. Oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Look, I couldn't even close it straight. It's like at an angle. Yeah. Made in the USA. Oh yeah, we're proud of that shit. Once the paint gets on the lip of the lid, it's over. It does. It is. It's horrible. Yeah, it is bad. That's what I used to use for coverage, but Vallejo stuff is so much better. I think it's more durable, the Model Master acrylic, but I used that. It first came out in the early 90s, maybe 92, 93. At least that's when I saw it at the store. And I stopped using it 3 years ago, probably. It just didn't. Remember Polyess and the Flocal, the acrylic stuff? It was better, but still, those tin can type lids that screw on they don't work. They do not work. So that's when I came across these type lids for the first time, however many years ago it was. I sold all my 1/2400 scale ships, all my BattleTech stuff, and took those monies and put them into buying the whole line of this stuff. Some colors which I rarely use, and some which I use all the time. But yeah, that lid design is just not good. Not good at all. But yeah. Oh, you can't say that about testers. I work for them. Look, if you make a crap product, you make a crap product. Like, that's why you have a thing called competition that makes us all better. You get complacent and you need to have evaluations of what your product is like from time to time. If you're making something, you threw 30 plus bottles in the trash. Yeah. It's a shame, but so the only hobby store that we have here in town is a chain store. You probably have it where you're at as well, called Hobby Lobby, and they have a very limited selection of the acryl. No, the worst paint of all that I've ever painted in my entire life is Pactra. Remember those Pactra paints? Those little ones? Not only did they come in a shitty tester's bottle, they came with a shitty tester's bottle that wasn't smooth on the inside. It had, I don't know whether it was like, hey, let's make this bottle that has all these grooves in it, so we have to give people less paint. And it would, oh, God, that stuff was horrible. That's the worst paint. You know, people talk trash about this. Okay, there's a use for this. This is good for terrain, and it's water cleanup, and it's a freaking $1 a piece. Okay, and that's what you get. But those Pactra things were, God, they were god awful. Consumer has spoken. That's true. You vote with your wallet. You know, that's why I'm a big fan of avoiding monopolies. You need to have competition to keep you honest. You know, if there was one cell phone company, man, your service would be terrible. Well, your service is already terrible, and I mean customer service, but you need competition. Why is there one utility company where you live? Why can't there be two? You compete against each other. Of course, what ends up happening is they're getting in cahoots with each other, and then, you know, it's no better. But you need choices. Choices are good for the consumer. God, Pactra was horrible. Oh. And those brushes, remember when you get as a kid, you'd get like the tester set with the brushes, and the brushes were shaped like there was no hope for those brushes. These are the worst brushes ever made. First of all, they're a nylon. Second of all, you had your end of your brush that was like this, and your brush is shaped like that. What in the hell are you going to paint with that? What in the living hell are you going to paint with that? I mean, you might as well get freaking nail paints. Go to freaking Walgreens and get paints for, you know, women use for their nails, and use that, because they come with a shitty brush like this too. Because state lobbying. Well, now we know who we need to get rid of. Lobbyists. Yeah, you need competition. Keep us all honest. Whatever industry you work in, you guys manufacture something. We do. If you had a bigger piece of the pie, you would make a shittier product. That's just how it is. You cut corners, and, you know, well, what are you going to do? Buy a widget from somebody else? We're the only widget makers. If there was one car manufacturer, that bitch would have 3 wheels. It would just get cut into that. First timers should just buy some craft paint and see if they like the hobby before investing hundreds of bucks and letting it collect dust. Yep. Yeah. Low cost bidder in U.S. military contracting. Yeah. I know you've done some work with the military. I've heard those stories where it's like, you know, their budget is, let's keep it in small numbers. Their budget is $10. They got to spend the whole $10 or you won't get $10 next time. So they end up buying things and like destroying them just so you end up getting the same budget the next year. That shouldn't be. That just shouldn't be. Like, save it for the next year, you know. I can't handle stuff like that. I think it's just crazy. There's just some things that just don't make any sense. There's just some things that don't make any sense. I've never been in the military. I tried to join right after the first Gulf War. I was 18, 19 years old, whatever. What would that have been? I thought about it the other day, and I think I pinpointed it was 2000 and no, boy, is 91 or 92? I think it was early 92, something like that. Yeah, they didn't want me. They said, we don't like the stuff on your skin. I'm like, okay, fine. But I don't think it would have worked out for me. I don't do well with what are we doing today? Digging a hole. Cool. Now what? I'll fill it back up. Okay. I'm thinking maybe you dug it in the wrong place. All right. Next day, dig a hole. Where? Same place. No. We're out. Okay. Give me a list of people that we need to take out or whatever it is that you need to accomplish. But just busy work so you don't misbehave. Nah, that doesn't work well for me. I don't have the personality type for it. Stop attacking the three-wheelers. They have feelings. Oh, man. Low cost means low quality most times. That's true. Faster, better, cheaper. Faster, better, cheaper. Pick two. Well, some things don't have to be faster. Better is definitely the one you always pick. You always pick better. Always. It's like saying, I'll use fast food as an example. It used to be cheap, bad quality, and bad for you. Now it's expensive, bad quality, and bad for you. Yeah. Poor quality and low cost. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have made it in the military. I got the wrong attitude for it. It doesn't mean, it just, I don't like to be, it doesn't not work for me. I'm one of the guys like, hey, well, we need to keep you busy so you don't cause any trouble. Dude, I'll be in my little room making videos. I'm cool. I don't cause problems. But those days are over and I'm too old and fat. It worked out all right. I'm not going to complain. Okay, I think this guy's done. And with all the stuff that's happened in the last 20 years and stuff, it's better than I'm not. So, an impossible job. Like a police officer. I'd be a terrible police officer. Second time I'd catch somebody for the same thing, they probably wouldn't hear from the person again. Well, you can't do that. Well, I'm not a good fit then. We're here to solve problems, not, kick them down the road. All right, what color we got down here hiding? Why are you hiding? This is kind of it's stone gray, far out. Yeah, 9/11 was yesterday. Man, I remember that day like it was yesterday. I remember it as well as yesterday. I can say, man, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, it was. But there's things from 20 years ago I don't remember, but things that stick with you, yeah. Definitely. I remember when that happened live. As it was happening. All right, we'll use this color, and we're going to mix this one with the brown. Let's get good old chocolate brown out here. Good old reliable chocolate brown. We use this one for everything. You buy high volume paint brushes at low cost. I don't use them after first sign of brush tip bend, which happens on everything. That's usually what does them in. 50 detail brushes for $50 on Amazon. My time is more valuable than fixing brush tips. I agree with you completely. You know, I've got this brush cleaner, and I can sit there and get it's really good for getting the paint out. But once it starts to bend, I come in here and trim them. I think I've got my next place priced out when I need brushes, but I bought so many at Walmart, which can't go there no more. So, and besides, these are all Chinese brushes. Can't buy those anymore either. So once we run out of these things, I think there's some on Amazon that are less expensive that are from Germany, I think is what they are. And then you got some like this brush set. I bought all this stuff before COVID, so these were at Hobby Lobby, and they're $20, but I used a 50% off coupon, so it's $10 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 brushes. Now, half of these may not be worth a damn, but and of course these don't say where they were made, so you know where they were made when they say they don't. When they don't say where they were made, you know where they were made. But I bought all those before, the boycott. So, yeah, I'll check them out. As long as they're not made, where, I'll try them. Definitely. Yeah, I like Amazon. I really do. I really do. But, I watch what I buy on there. I'm like, okay, who's this vendor? I don't want to buy it from that guy, Because the days of, and I'd rather go to a storefront, but you go to a storefront, I used to work in retail. What would it have been? 30 years ago? What year are we in? Even less than 30 years ago. You go and you may not, customers looking for whatever item, you don't know what it is, you help them find it, or say, not like, nah, we don't have that, and then go back to surfing on your phone. I mean, it's like, I don't want to deal with those people, and go from store to store and not be able to find what you need. Time and gas are worth something too. So, like, I was looking for a microphone, I guess about a couple of years ago, for my phone when I was using a microphone for my last phone. And I'm like, I'll go to Best Buy. I know they got microphones there. They had one. It was their brand that was also made in China, but it was priced at like $60 for an item that you could get at, less than $10 on Amazon. You'd still get them probably made at the same damn factory. Or for half the price, you could get a good quality one, not made in the place I don't want to buy stuff from, on Amazon. So I just Amazoned it, and you get it the next day. Sometimes you can even get it the same day if you time it right. And no hassle of going to multiple stores, and yeah, retail's in trouble, I'm telling you. I'd rather buy it from the store, but they don't have it, they can't order it, And that was before, the whole COVID restocking thing, so. I am a fan of Amazon. So I'm a fan of two things. I'm a huge fan of two things in particular: Amazon and YouTube. I don't say that because I'm on YouTube. I say that because there's things that I want to do, like I want to replace the light bulbs on like my vehicle. It came with non-LED bulbs, which is no, I'm not doing that, you know, and so I'm like, well, and you think light bulbs in vehicles used to be really easy to replace? Well, not anymore. So I go on YouTube and find a video that somebody made showing people how to change light bulbs on particular ones and which ones to order. And between that and Amazon and getting the right ones, you could do it yourself, and it's empowering. Or you could go to the dealership and, you know, they'll charge you, whatever their $100 an hour rate is to change a light bulb, you know. So see any of my vids or Facebook posts, all mainly from these brushes. Okay, I'll check them out. I'm not going to run out of brushes anytime soon. So I've got these plus these that are here. I have a whole stack of them over there, and that unopened package. So I'm probably good for a couple of years. But somebody that was this person that I actually know that would go to our shows, he recommended a couple of weeks ago. There's a store in Tampa that's a Dick Blick store, which really sounds like it could be a adult paraphernalia place, but with that name. But anyhow, I'm gonna go get something at Dick Blick. Okay, whatever. Have fun. Don't show me. But it's a craft supplier. So I was in that area was it last weekend? I'm like, I'm gonna stop by. And I checked the thing, and it looked just like another Michael's. The displays and everything were the same. And I'm like, no, I'll just get them from Amazon when I need them. I don't need to go to that store and get it, because there was really nothing I needed. What I was looking for is this, that there's apparently a shortage of all of a sudden. My Liquitex resin sand. So, you know, I found that at Michael's, bought it, ran out of it, bought it again. Second restock I wanted to get, Michael's no longer carried it. I had to mail order it through Amazon. Then the next time I needed it, had to order it from, I think it was mail order from Dick Blick or something like that. Now nobody carries it. So put money in learning to cut paint and thin down like Tony. Keep brush wet. You have to keep paint going up because it causes brush to spread and lose tip. Yeah, I've just asked me how many brushes I've gone through. This works for me. I don't know why. This is the new thing. This stuff is a miracle, and it's a mistake. It's an accident. You know how they made the Reese's peanut butter cup. This is the same thing. You know, it was an accident. I had all this stuff and decided to try it. The paint's really thin. God, I've been doing that for so long, since the mid-90s when I started doing this layering. And I used to be crazy. I used to do like 7 or 8 layers of a color. I mean, like crazy stuff. My 20 millimeter World War II are that way. And then I'm like, okay, we don't need that much crazy. And it's got to be thinned down, because otherwise it would be super thick. But this stuff is amazing. Amazing stuff. It's expensive, but I'm telling you, I use it all the time, and you use it very, very slowly. And again, still waiting for the person to take credit for the eyeglass case. People have been pretty honest. Nobody's the contact lens case. Nobody's. Yep, that was me. Nobody wanted to get some brownie points that they didn't deserve. That's cool. But hey, we can all learn from each other. Nobody has all the right answers. Some people do have all the wrong answers, but yeah, this one's already starting to fray. But what do you expect? It's Zhuangsheng, China. Why don't they make these things in Taiwan? I'd buy them then. Yeah, so I'd go to Walmart and I'd buy, these are Walmart folk art brushes. That's what they were packaged as. And I think they come in like 10 in a pack for like $3.98. Like, so last time I went in there, I bought, I want to say 6 packs of them. And, you know, then Walmart did something really stupid that pissed me off about 3 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not giving them any more of my money. And then I ended up getting these that are also, I think, they're Fine Touch. So they're Hobby Lobby brand that are also Chinese, but at least they're not from Walmart. And I got those instead. But the boycott's in effect now, so I can't get those. I won't allow myself to buy them. Let's put it that way. So you guys want to buy them, that's fine. You know, no judgment, but I don't want to give them any more power than they already have over us. So the Aho makes something like that. It is. I just don't want to. I want all my stands to be consistent. I guess I'll have to go to that if I can't find it. Doesn't say in Amazon where those brushes are made from, okay. And they don't say them on your thing here. Yeah, they're probably from China. Any of you guys use brushes that are natural material? These are all synthetic. Is the natural material better? It's just the brush tip. It's the brush tip turn at the end. It happens on every one of them. And I don't know if it's the fact that I'm doing this is contributing to it. Look, I'm not pressing that hard. But if it is, then they'll just have to bend because I'm not going to mix with one brush, put that one away, use this one to pick it. I'm not looking for ways for my technique to take even longer. I don't have that kind of time. We do need to get things done. These guys need to be done so they can be on video so you guys can enjoy them. You can see all kinds of crazy stuff that these nomads are going to get themselves into. Crazy stuff. Guaranteed. Okay. He's done. I got to use the little boy's room. I know I should have just slapped on a diaper this morning, be more efficient. Be right back. I know, I gotta oil that thing. I had a spray lubricant thing that was silicone based that was awesome and I misplaced it. I don't know. I don't know where it is. Badger hair is the best brushes in my opinion. Remember, if you combed hair a lot, you kept wings without blow drying since '84. Oh yeah. '84. Back when music was worth a damn. I didn't even listen to music. I had an older war gamer I would game with back in the early 90s. And I always remember that he told me, he said, people always like the music that they grew up with when they were going through puberty. And at least in my case, yeah, I would agree with him on that. Having a cut on my cutting mat so I could see it. I'm real protective of this, and I didn't even buy it. It was given to me, but I'm like, man, these things they're really not that expensive. But I don't like seeing paint splattered on places that I distract easy. I'm like squirrel, and I don't want them there distracting me. Okay, what color are we going to use on this guy? We got to do one that's almost white, just for variety. Find the darkest dude, this one, just for contrast. And yeah, that'll work, because we're not gonna mix black in with it. We'll mix this brown. I don't listen to music much anymore. I used to. The music I like to listen to, I can't listen to in my car, man. I'll drive too fast. I'll drive too fast in it. For no reason, just, Man, this brush got a lot better when I trimmed it up. I'm going to trim up some of these other ones. Give me a hard time. Yeah, every one of them has a little tip that's bent. Not sure what's causing that, but I'm glad it happens to everybody. So see, I'll spray outside at humidity, and my spray never frosts like some of you guys, but I got all bent ends on my brushes too, so we got that in common. I've never had the frosting thing, ever. I think I'm spraying a lot thinner than most people are. I think that's what it is. Comb your hair. Man, I don't remember the last time I combed my hair. In the 80s, I guess. Hey, I didn't know any better. I lived at home. A little bit of rosé looking. Yeah, well, that's because of that really brings out the red that's in that brown that you don't even know it's in there, but it is. It's called the red tones. Roll brush in fairy liquid. We don't have that here in the U.S. Fairy liquid. Oh, we do, but it's in Key West. When cleaning brushes helps keep their shape as long as you remember rinse as well. Having problems with predicting text. I don't like those predictive text things. I want to type like I want to type, you know? Yeah. Fairy liquid. I just wish I could do this, say, even 5 years ago. I wouldn't have to do this business of putting my glasses on and taking them off. So, you know, yeah, it's very mildly inconvenient. I don't even know that it's that bad. You know, the reality is now painting with nearsightedness, my miniature is that much bigger. And I could use one of those loop things, but they don't, if they'd make them at the same strength that I am already naturally gifted with, the area is so small. As they do make it 10 times, and that's big, but as long as I can still see and don't have the shakes, I do not want the shakes. We got too many things to paint. We don't have time for that. Then we should be good. Yeah, somebody who's always been nearsighted, when you start not being able to see things up close, that's really weird. That's really strange. So let me get this straight. I can't see things far away or close. Right. So I've got put contacts in to drive, or as I like to say, even make it out of the house. But then if I need to see something up close, like on my computer or something, I gotta wear readers all the time. Got it. Readers isn't that annoying because I've got a pair of them that I carry with me all the time in my bag, and then I got another one that stays at work. And they're exactly the same reader, exactly the same style and everything. So I literally go into work and put them on and pretty much have them on the whole time, which of course has made my eye even weaker. So it's made that even more necessary. Okay. And we're going to make another one of these with, this guy's almost a little blue. Oh, you notice it blue now. It doesn't look that blue until you put a guy that's not blue next to him. Okay. Let's do this one. Let's do this one with, I think we mixed brown with that one, so let's mix black with this one, and then we'll lighten it up past this color to make it look white, but just a different version of white. Where'd my black go? No, it died. Well, I guess I could turn the fan off and it wouldn't be as, but I don't paint warm when I'm warm. And I'm warm all the time, unfortunately. You always see those commercials. Like sometimes they're bed commercials, and they've got about the husband and the wife. They argue about what temperature to have things. Like she's always cold. I couldn't live with somebody that would be cold all the time. I couldn't do it. I'm telling you, I'm moving out. And there's times when it gets into the teens here. Not often, maybe a week's worth a year. But I'm against the heater. A heater shouldn't have heaters in Florida. Don't need them. So I remember one year 53 inside the house. 53 Fahrenheit. I don't know what it is in Celsius. That's, you guys are on your own when it comes to that. I could do metric dimensions, but metric temperature, no, you're on your own, whatever that is. 53 Fahrenheit in the house without the windows open. You know how much you'd have to pay to get the house down to 53 with air conditioning? Well, first of all, you couldn't do it. It'd freeze your air conditioning unit, and you get it for free now. I love that. I love to wear long sleeves. Just can't. The other thing about thinning the panes, when I'm adding layers, they're more transparent, so they blend together smoother. And I guess you could make a case for making more contrast. I've seen other people's painting that has more contrast. It looks okay. Not on the flesh, okay? I don't like flesh that, as someone mentioned a long time ago, looks like meat cutting charts for cattle. But I don't mind the clothes and things like that. That has less shades. I've just kind of gotten in the habit of painting like this, and this is what we're going to go with. But I don't mind the 3-color system on stuff other than the face. I think the face needs to look like a person. You used to, what do we got? We got a piece of fluff here. But again, if you like that, well, you like that. It's your creation. You can paint it however you like. Hey, it's your money. You like Picasso, you can buy one of his paintings. Almost done here. Then we get to start doing stripes and stuff. A good name for a store that sells prison wear, stripes and stuff. Actually, they don't wear stripes anymore in prison, do they? You'd have to rename the place like Jumpsuit Jacks. They're always wearing jumpsuits. Okay. Jumpsuit Jacks, a restaurant where everybody dressed like a prisoner and they whistle at you, no matter how ugly you are. It's a theme restaurant. Why is the server not coming fast to me? Well, they're wearing chains around their feet. Oh, man. All right. Let's do the stripings. Let's get the red out. So I guess about a couple weeks ago, I had some problems with the internet. It would disconnect all the time. I think this went away. Oh, that's right. I ran my mouth. Hey, I was just making a statement. Just making a statement. All right. We're not going to do the red one with this bluish one. I'm actually going to try doing a white stripe on them. Woo! I don't know about that, Sarge. Yep. We're going there. Let me get black out here. Let's get us a new. There we go. Still end up wasting more than I end up using, but the wet palette helps. It really helps just a little bit. So you wouldn't use a restroom in your theme restaurant. That's right. Wouldn't be hand sanitizer, it'd just be soaps on a rope. Mitch was he moonlighted as a prison guard for, I forget, jail, prison. They're the same to me. I think his was the prison for a couple years. Is doing multiple jobs early on, and yeah. As I like to say, it doesn't matter whether you're behind bars or not. You're still in jail, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to touch that one. That one looks too good. This one. All right, let's. And you have prison food too, so you'll serve like beefaroni and. Just mention the Ark of the Covenant or your internet will drop. Oh, I mentioned it. Did you catch that? We told you about that story. That's an incredible story. That was a hilarious event. Rich is playing the Hebrews with me. I found out he loses it. I'm like, why would you lose that? I said, and I told him something like, because he was on another table. I'm like, who the hell loses the Ark of the Covenant? I said, I bet you're not even circumcised. It was hilarious. It was hilarious when stuff like that happens. That's why we have to film every game, because so many improbable, crazy things have happened. You don't have to make this stuff up. This guy's fancy, he gets 2 stripes. Yeah, crazy. That was a crazy game. Yeah, he had an Ark of the Covenant. He had a figure for Samson, which was on like a nightstand. He had like 3 or 4 figures on the stand. He had, you know, and he was on a 40 by 30 stand, and he was impetuous like a knight. What else did he have? He had a little individually based figure for David with his little rock that he would throw. Really, really small stand, like maybe 2/3 of the size of a penny. There's just a one figure was on him. Yeah, it's a cool game. I do enjoy playing. Anytime I get a chance to play something like that, I do like playing the Hebrews because they're so underdogs, like army list wise. They're not a very powerful army. I'm like, okay, they usually have new players, and I'm like, give them the power armies. I'll take the ones that are a little bit more difficult to win with. But I've had really good luck with them. So self-fulfilling popsicle, or as my buddy used to say, it's a self-licking popsicle. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Nope, it's a self-licking popsicle. This guy might look a little Egyptian with his stripes. Okay, we'll take a look at him. We don't like him. We can always repaint him. Oh, other way. I'm in my own way. Don't you love it when that happens? There we go. Okay, set him aside. So we're gonna do this dark guy. The dark. Put a white. Yeah, the rules for the individual David figure, I think, is if the little David figure was attached to a stand and it was fighting the Philistine command stand, then it would quick kill him. So it was an interesting little campaign there. Yeah, that Ark of the Covenant, it could blast out something like 24 inches away, and it could go through your own guys, so you wouldn't have to put it in the front. The problem with those campaign games, he'd always run them on the last day of the convention, and he'd run them. There are definitely games that could probably run the entire session, the entire day. They could be taking them up, and we're always rushed trying to finish them, and we never do. You know what? We're gonna do this. We're gonna add a second stripe here on this side. I've never done one of these. Maybe we'll make these guys a little fancier than the normal guys with the kilts. Now they are fast blades, so they should be higher up on the hierarchy than the auxilia, I would think. Bonjour, bonjour, mon chéri. Wer ist mein Heinz? He's right there. Welcome back. One of these we're going to leave just plain. Was it this one or this one? It was this one. I like that. Okay, these two guys. All right, I got to use the bathroom again? Well, I mean, I got to hold it, but it's just uncomfortable. All right, I'll get more beverage anyways. Be right back. Bonjour. Be our guest. All right. Is one of these guys the bluish one? No, he was that guy over there. All right. Let's do blue stuff with this one. Large miniature travel time here. Last time I joined, you were working on the Pope, but you got way back in time now. I have. Yep. All biblical and shit. All biblical. Yeah, this is book 115, Amorites. Oh no. See, this is a weird blue, okay? Look at the, you're probably not going to come out right. Look at the color of the thing here. It looks like French blue, right? And even this looks kind of like French blue. Not accurate. So in real life, this is looks very gray. It's almost like it's the wrong color in there. I don't know. It's the strangest thing. Whatever color this is, that's not I do not want to use that one. Not for this. I thought I grabbed this one when I had not. What just happened? Interesting. What happened to my phone? Did it die? It's connected there. That's strange. All right. If it's not something, it's something else. It says it's charging here. What's the battery output? I can't even get a display on here. I guess you guys still have volume. All right. It's at 0%. How is it at 0% when it's charging with a cord? I'm telling you, man. If it's not something, it's something else. All right. How do we do this? All right, let's get a different power source for the phone. Welcome to the land of adversity. Still not coming up. It's gone biblical on you. Yeah. Something like that. You guys can at least hear me. So I have my phone that is connected to the computer so you guys can see the signature. And it also charges it at the same time. But apparently it wasn't charging it. I don't know. Well, all right, let's see if I can use my magic. There we go. We'll go with that until this phone charges up. Assuming the battery didn't die. 1%. Well, we'll go to 2 cameras here in a second. Hey, when you got, it's kind of like when you have 2 engines on a plane. You can lose an engine and you're still in the air. I'm telling you, if it's not something, it's not something, it's something else. 2%. Well, the phone was fully charged. I don't know why it was losing And it should be charging it. Why wouldn't it be charging it as it's connected to the computer? Damn technology. Okay. Guess we only got the old side cam today. Oh, we got to do that. Hopefully the battery didn't die or something, like, needs a battery replaced. I've had really good luck on phone batteries. Knock on wood. All right, what are we going to do with this guy? I'm going to do a stripe down like this. And then we're going to go across here. And we're going to come back around. I'm actually surprised we haven't had any major problems with live games. You warned me about the Ark. Yeah, well, you could have just mentioned, I mentioned it 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Hey, I didn't lose the Ark. Nor did I use it as a litter box. My guys kicked ass at every one of those battles, by the way. Now we're at 7%. All right, so let's try to do this. Let's try. Well, wake up. Come on. So there's a function here where to get the camera to work, to talk to the computer, they have to be on the same Wi-Fi, okay? But they talk a lot better with it if it's tethered to it through the same port, and that's what it was. So it's tethered to the same port and charging as you go, but I guess it wasn't charging it. I don't know. Maybe this cord's bad. Who knows? All right, let's bring everything back up. We should be able to get this to do it. And let's just... Where is the app for that thing? I thought it was under tools. Is it under photo? It's under photo. Got it. Okay. Now I'm connected. Now let's go back here. And let's go back to main camera. And there we go. Okay, well, that was mildly inconvenient. You know what? I'm not going to tether it to the computer anymore. I'll use this long cord. So I went on Amazon or whatever a few months ago. And I always had these power cords that were too short. So I ended up getting a set of, I think, 4 or 5 of them. And one of them was, I swear this thing's like 20 feet long. Well, now it comes in handy. Now it's saying it's connected again. I don't know, everything was... Why is it dying all of a sudden, coming on and off? I don't know, I think it's the Taliban personally. If you keep stepping on the ant mound, the ants are going to fight whoever's stepping on it. But as soon as you stop stepping on it, they start going over other places and finding other issues. Oh well. At least we got one camera. We haven't lost the sound yet. Can I mention the arc, or is it too soon now? Still. All right. Let's get some lighter bluish color in there. And this one we're going to leave without anything on it. Okay, so that's done. Let's put this away. It's a whole lot of blue for one stripe. Story of my life. Oh, you know what? I bet since I reconnected this, the damn thing's upside down again, isn't it? Or side to side. Let's check. Let's see what Jack has to say. Yep. F you, China. By the way, here's a vendor I ordered some things from from Paint from California, and I had really good service. I have Vallejo stuff, and their stuff's pretty cheap. It's called Burbank House of Hobbies, and I kept a little business card. So they sell on eBay, and I was really happy with their service. They carry Vallejo paints, and I want to say they're $3 a piece, maybe even less than that. So anyhow, because they're $5 at Hobby Lobby here, and they didn't have the colors I needed. That was the main thing. Okay. So we're done with that. It's time to do these straps. And to do the straps, we need to do the bronze. So let's go ahead and, where's a little bronze mix? I'm sure it's not alive anymore. Oh, look at this. We're starting to lose moisture. Get a little mix here. You just typed that comment and my internet dropped. Yeah, you can't talk about the ark and not be circumcised. Didn't drop on this end. Falcon miniatures were the ones that made a little Ark of the Covenant with the attendants that carried it. And unfortunately, I think those guys are no more. He had that Ark of the Covenant from Falcon. Cool little piece. So this guy's a different type of sickle sword. We're going to paint that. Time for bed anyways. Good night. Good night, Dirk. Thanks for coming by. Hopefully you don't have to work tomorrow. All right. That guy's done. How's the phone doing? 11%. Okay. Yeah, it makes no sense. My phone was a pretty good strength last night. And haven't been on that long. That's the part I don't like, taking these pieces down and picking them back up. Have a fumble issue with a fumble. Okay. That part's done. Okay. What do we got left on these guys? Well, we got their faces to do. Not got their faces. We got their We got the straps to do, the sickle sword handles, and their shields. As much as I'd like to stop, I really want to get these guys done. So let's go do the sickle sword handles. I believe we did buff for this. Yeah. You see, the brush chat was talking about brush cleaning. I usually buy a cheap pack of brushes that will last a year, but the last set I got off Amazon were trash in 3 weeks. I may have to get a grown-up brush. I don't know. People have recommended that I get a Winsor & Newton for many years, and we had an art supply store here in town that would carry stuff like that, but I'm not going to mail order a brush. Because if you've ever bought brushes before, you know that not all brushes are created the same. So you'll look at a multi-pack and go, yeah, I like that one, but that one's no good. And you try to pick the best of ones you think that'll behave. But I'm not spending nearly $20 for one brush sight unseen. And there's nowhere here in town to do that. Yeah, so I'll take this brush cleaner. I got some leftover paint in here. We'll get some of that. Maybe it was noticeable because it was the metallic. There we go. Got all that out. But it doesn't seem to affect the tip. So once your tip starts going south, you're screwed. You got to trim it or just move the brush to do less critical things for you. You know, it goes into the second tier. Not as trustworthy anymore. All right, let's paint these handles. Mixed with black. Just do the whole thing. Let's just do the whole thing to finish. Really don't want to put each figure down 4 times. Not my idea of a good time. Okay. He's done. Go ahead and rinse him in between just for good measure. Rincification. Man, I'm getting tired. Almost time for... Oh, look, you can see the glow above me with the transom light. All right, well, I think I'm going to call it. I think I need to go nap. I'm pretty tired. But thanks for stopping by here, you and all the antics that we have of connecting and disconnecting and all that stuff. But we may be back later on, but we're really close to these guys, so hopefully we can power through and do that. But thanks for coming by, and catch you guys next time. See ya.